Hello, BookTube. Well, it's a bleak and barren Sunday, and that means no mail. No books for Steve in the mail. No postman visiting with packages or plastic tubs. And ordinarily, that causes me to mope and complain here on BookTube. But this morning, my dogs had a very peaceful morning, and the sun was bright and shining, and it was, as usual in Boston, 70 degrees. So I decided for once I would take the bull by the horns and do something about my bleak and barren Sunday. And the something I chose to do is something that's bothered me a lot on BookTube that I've been watching over the year. Before I joined BookTube, it always made a shiver of horror run down my spine when I'd watch people do bookstore hauls. They would come back from their trip to their local retail bookstore and unbag the books they bought for a ruinous amount of money. $50, $60, $70. Just recently, I watched a BookTube video in which somebody came back from a chain bookstore having spent over $100. And that, as speaking as somebody who has never paid full retail price for a book, either because I've been working on a bookstore or because I've been a book reviewer or a book editor, that just horrifies me. And it makes me understand another aspect of BookTube that when I first came in contact with BookTube, I had a hard time understanding, and that was book buying bans. Of course, if you're going to spend that much money on books, you're going to go on a buying ban now and again. It makes perfect sense. If you only went to your local Goodwill, you wouldn't. Those trips have always bothered me, but I decided if you can't beat them, join them. So I went on one today. I'm going to share it with you just exactly as if I were one of those booktubers. I went to my Boston Barnes & Noble, which for those of you who don't live in America is the sole remaining big chain bookstore in the country. And this particular Barnes & Noble I used to work at forever and ever, for years and years. And Barnes & Noble as a chain, just as a company I used to work at for years and years and years. So many years, in fact, that when I retired, they gave me a lifetime employee discount card. One of the things Barnes & Noble employees, they are never a happy lot, but one of the things they'll always cite as a nice plus for working there is you get an employee discount. And mine did not end when I left. So I didn't pay full price for the things I'm going to show you, and that's nice. I want to start off with the periodicals. The Barnes & Noble here in Boston has by far the biggest periodical section of any store of any kind anywhere in the city. So when I'm there, I read a lot of magazines. When I'm there, I always buy magazines because they're discounted, whereas if I went anywhere else, they wouldn't be. If I'm there, why not? So the first one I got is Outside Magazine, which is the first half is dude bro type stuff, best aftershave, kick-ass ties, 5,000, 6,000, 10,000, at one point a $75,000 wristwatch. But the back half of Outside Magazine has great writing. And I say that without air quotes, that just plain great writing, and it always has. Outside Magazine's featured commissioned reporting and feature articles in the back of the magazine are well worth anybody's time. They are fantastic. So I put up with the stuff in the front to get to the stuff in the back. And if that's true for Outside Magazine, how much more true is it for these next two? There's the Weekly Standard, in which this cover is great. Joy in Mudville. The jubilant Chicago Cubs. But in every one of these issues, the back half is book reviews by some of the best freelancers in the business. The front half is all political stuff. Usually I glance through the political stuff at the front and then read the book reviews so that I know what everybody's talking about, the major books that are out and that maybe I've read or reviewed. In this particular case, I won't be looking at the front part at all. In fact, I may just tear it off and just carry around the book reviews with me. And the same thing with The Nation, another venerable political magazine. This one is the fall books issue. Which means that a large portion of the thing will be given over to book reviews and book essays. Wouldn't miss it for all the tea in China, so I got this as well. And if I'd got them anywhere else, I would have paid full price for them. So I just grabbed them when I was at Barnes & Noble. And then I got this. Barnes & Noble also has a very good selection of blank books. journals, that sort of thing. I got a little one of these. I have a big one right here, but that's for 2016, and I'm playing around in my mind with a whole bunch of possibilities for changes to the way I do things in 2017. I thought maybe I'd get one of those while I was there. And then you might be wondering, you went to a bookstore and didn't get any books, but I did. I got 2 romances, and when you're a big fan of historical romances, as I am, you have to break up the crowd somehow. And in this particular instance, I chose a particular rung on the ladder of British titled nobility. This time I went with earls. So I got The Brown-Eyed Earl by Anna Bennett, and simply The Earl by Catherine Ashe. I don't have a surefire lock on getting mass market paperbacks from publishers. They often don't send them upon request for reviewers. So, if I see mass market paperbacks of science fiction or mystery or romance in a bookstore, that's the thing I will get. I won't ever get a new trade paperback because I can ask for it. I'll never get a new hardcover because I can ask for it. And I'll never get a backlist title either, because what would be the point? With the Brattle, what would be the point of getting anything old when I can find it at the Brattle in an edition that I will be perfectly happy with? So I got these, the Earl and the Brown-Eyed Earl. And I also got this. This is the Volume 1 of the George Perez Wonder Woman, which was, when was this? Was this the 70s? Late 70s, early 80s? Yeah, the late 70s, early 80s. This was a little while ago. DC Comics did a gigantic hardcover omnibus of the George Perez years on Wonder Woman, being the artist and the writer for Wonder Woman. And it was like $100, and I've learned the hard way from those big omnibuses that they're impossible to read. They might look nice, but you can't actually use them as a book. You can't balance them anywhere. Can't take them anywhere. They're not comfortable. And I knew that DC would do what Marvel has done, which is eventually to break that up into paperback volumes, and they did. So this is the first volume of the George Perez interpretation of Wonder Woman, where he was given control of the character and said, "You can be the writer, you can be the artist," and he did a wonderful job. He brought her back to her mythological roots, and also wove her into the tapestry of modern day life. So it gave her a lot of texture. I myself don't particularly. It was one aspect of the reinvention of DC Hallmark characters throughout the late 70s and early 80s that I didn't agree with, and that was lowering their power levels. That was definitely done to Wonder Woman. It was done to Superman too. I don't agree with that. If you're a writer who's challenged by the fact that your character can bend steel in his bare hands, you're not a very good writer. And I'm glad to see that is slowly inching its way out of consideration. With Wonder Woman, you can never tell. This character has been a football for reinterpretations, kicked everywhere. The current iteration in the comic books is a little bit boring, a little bit one-dimensional, basically Conan with superpowers. The iteration in the movie is actually a little more enjoyable, more nuanced, more adult, more thoughtful, and it seems to me a little more powerful. And this is the old Wonder Woman. This is the one with the star-spangled costume and the bullets and bracelets and the long mythological history. Not a warrior, but a peacemaker, not a killer, but an envoy to the UN and whatnot. And Perez's artwork is fantastic. Of course, he made his bones as an artist, not a writer. So I was happy to see this. It's because this is another example. DC Comics would almost certainly not have sent me this, or the $100 omnibus for that matter, for review. They are notoriously stingy about such things. And that was it. That was my my Barnes & Noble trip on this bleak and barren Sunday. I actually went out and bought stuff. And it was very enjoyable. And now I'll go back tomorrow to getting stuff in the mail. So thank you, BookTube. I'll see you then.